All right, all right, all right. We are back. Welcome to the First and 60 show. I am Sunny Cadwallader, co-host of the First and 60 show, and I am joined by my co-host, the one, the only, the pro football guru himself, Russell Baxter. Hey, Russ.
Well, hello, Sonny. It has been a while since we have done this. It's been probably more than first and 60 days since we've done a show, but we are basically a week away from being together in Cleveland, on our way to Canton, on our way to one of the most special weekends when it comes to the National Football League. For me, I've been going out there regularly since 1989. For you, it's a first-time appearance.
Now, as I was looking at all of the events related to this entire weekend, like you said, I'm arriving next Thursday from the Pacific Northwest. No, I will not be covering the Seahawks, and we will be getting to the Seahawks in just a few minutes. But I was looking at all of the different things that are available, different events. Friday night we will be going to the induction dinner where the honorees will be getting those yellow jackets. That's going to be a phenomenal event. Saturday we're doing our show from TD's Tailgate Grill in Canton. We're going to be at the induction ceremony. Yay, Ray Guy. And then Sunday we will be at the game. And I think as I sat here and thought about it, one of the most moving moments of the weekend might be at the game. The honorary captains, those two players from the Buffalo Bills, New York Giants, that will be present, Harry Carson for the Giants, and Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly will be there. He will be helping do the honorary coin toss, and I think that might be one of the most underrated things of the weekend. But you've been going there forever. You've been going there forever. What are you looking forward to?
Well, it's evolved so much. The first year I went was 1989. The class was Art Shell. Yay, Art Shell for you
Oh,
with the
wait,
Raiders.
hold on. See, we are so out of practice. We have
There you
not
go.
done this in ages.
All right, and the rest of the class was Willie Wood from the Green Bay Packers and a pair of Pittsburgh Steelers, Mel Blount, and people will always remember, I think, Terry Bradshaw's amazing emotional speech, which had one of the classic lines in it in which he said, "What I wouldn't give to, you know, put my hands under Mike Webster's butt one more time." And years later, when Mike Webster went into the Hall of Fame, lo and behold, on the steps of Canton, here was Terry Bradshaw taking a snap from him, which was pretty cool. Back in the day when I first started going, Sonny, the ceremony was on Saturday morning. It was on the steps, and then you moved right over to the stadium and went to the game. It has become something sensational now, and it's funny that you bring up Jim Kelly, because Jim Kelly's, the year he went in,
Mhm.
was the first year they held the inductions at the stadium. And the reason
Right.
they held them at the stadium is because Jim Kelly, and I'm not exaggerating, brought 3,000 of his closest friends. And that was the only way they were going to have room for them, and it was such a big hit. That's now where they have the ceremony. And if you remember that, he talked about his son, and I got a chance to work with Jim Kelly a couple years at ESPN. He's a fun guy. I wish him well. He is your classic fighter, and I know everything will go well with him, and et cetera, et cetera. But if I have to pick a moment every year, it's that jacket ceremony, because it features a lot of Hall of Famers who come back, maybe 40, 50, 60, sometimes more, and to see them, in person is pretty cool. And then watching those seven men get those jackets, and depending on who they're in, the person who is inducting them is. It's some of those moments are special. Some of them are extremely special. I go back just to a couple of years ago when Sterling Sharp was able to give the jacket to his brother Shannon Sharp, and that was something to behold.
Well, since we last got together, which was what, over a month ago, I
No, I
think.
think it was a couple of months ago.
No, it
What have you been
wasn't that
what have you been
long.
what have you been up to?
It was like I had a birthday, I think, in there somewhere. I don't know.
Happy 21st. Very good.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you.
we go. 29, 29 and holding,
There you
30, 31, 30. Do I hear 33?
go. Okay.
No, I had a birthday, been doing my own thing, and but there's been a lot going on. a lot going on, and not just over the past month. I mean, shoot, just this week alone. I mean, what do we? I don't even know if we want to get into any of it right now, but we have the Ray Rice suspension. We have Tony Dungy's comments that caused controversy. Pat Bowlen, Denver Broncos owner, stepping down. ALS, I believe, was the diagnosis. Is that right?
Alzheimer's disease, and it's something that's been kind of talked about out there for a couple of years, and now he made the decision to step down. And Pat Bowlen, who's owned the Broncos for 30 years and been a big part of the league as well, Hall of Fame owner, not in there yet, but don't be surprised if somewhere down the road because of his contributions to the game.
Right. Sorry, I had muted myself there for a minute.
But I mean, you brought up Ray Rice. Well, but we'll touch a little on that. People having various opinions about the suspension that was brought down with him. You mentioned Pat Bowlen, and so on. We've got Marshawn Lynch news out there about holding out. The guy who's basically known for running people over is now planning on holding out, and it's been kind of an odd year for him. From not wanting to go to the White House. To other things as well. He's such an instrumental part of what they do. And then, we're in that stage now where we're going to get ready to talk about quarterback battles in Minnesota, quarterback battles in Cleveland, running back battles in Cleveland, other positional battles around. It's training camp. It's fun. And like I said, the preseason is very close. And it'll kick off with the Hall of Fame game between the Bills and the Giants. And I'm sure that when we're watching the telecast, on NBC that night, there will be more than one reference to Super Bowl 25, which obviously Jim Kelly and the Bills fell short 20-19, and one of the most stirring Super Bowls there was, not just only because of the game and the upset and so on, but you'll remember that was going on during the war. That was the first Super Bowl I ever attended, as a matter of fact, at the old Tampa Stadium, not Raymond James Stadium as it is now. And it was Whitney Houston's music, and I mean, it was an event to be at. As it turned out, that being my first Super Bowl, that was a hell of a Super Bowl to be at.
See, I did it again. I am so we are so out of practice on working together. Goodness, I was muted again. Yeah, and I think we're going to try and be at the Super Bowl again this year. It will be my first. Hope not this year, but the one in Arizona, it'll be like a homegoing for me because that's where I am originally from. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed, cross your heart. I'm hoping that we both can go to the next, is it Super Bowl 50, 49,
Super
right?
Bowl 49, and I'm glad you did this. With the crossing of the fingers, by the way, because it's XLIX. You will need both of those crosses there because, as we know, and it's a one-time thing. Okay, no, that's
next.
That XL would be Super Bowl 40. Remember, Super Bowl 50 is not going to be Roman numerals. They're going to do.
I know because they didn't want people. They didn't want people doing this for their.
I've always wanted to ask people. I've always wanted people ask people who do this. When you do this, is that really to get better reception for your cell phone? Because it looks like an antenna.
It's not a My Favorite Martian thing, Russ. That's way back when.
Yes, way back when, and remember it well. Mr. Hand, Ray Walston.
The logo for the Super Bowl 50, I believe, is the Lombardi Trophy, and I think it was Greg Aiello, I think he's the PR guy for NFL. He said the L is still in there, but I think they just didn't want people doing the L. L all over the place.
Well, listen,
it's a loser Super Bowl.
I'm out of practice. Not going to the dentist, but the dentist I go to does not have Highlights magazine. Okay, so as far as finding the hidden pictures and things like that, I'm really out of practice. I can, back in the day, I could find the ball, the umbrella, the bat, the different things that they were hiding in Highlights magazine. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. You and I are going to be in Canton. and then obviously we'll be in Glendale for the Super Bowl, and now the preparation for the Super Bowl really begins. Training camp's getting underway. We've seen our share into some moves that we've seen around the league. The Chargers letting Larry English go, the Falcons signing Pat Angerer, inside linebacker. We've already seen. It's been a tough year for linebackers in this league, and the year hasn't even begun yet. Kiko Alonso, Sean Lee, Sean Weatherspoon, all probably not going to play this year. A couple more already on injured reserve. Okay, we'll see what happens with Kiko Alonso. I actually talk about Kiko Alonso in my latest piece for Bleacher Report, because who's going to fill his spot? Nigel Bradham or the rookie Preston Brown. So stuff like that is all going to come to fruition. It's a shame that he goes down. He led them in tackles last year, but it's all about now chasing the Seattle Seahawks, the defending Super Bowl champions, the 19th different franchise to win a Super Bowl, and now we'll see if they can become the first one in a decade to go to back-to-back Super Bowls, much less win Super Bowls, just go to back-to-back Super Bowls, which we have not seen since the Patriots won Super Bowls 38 and 39.
And we here, at least in my particular world, the one that just centers around me, I personally don't want to see it because I live with Seahawks fans and I'm surrounded by Seahawks fans, and I do not want to see that. I'm sorry, Josh Decker. I'm sorry, Trifecta Billy, and yeah, I'm sorry about that, but I don't want to see that.
And I guess we just lost. If they were watching the show tonight, we just lost them. So thanks, Sonny.
Yeah, I know, but
Okay.
maybe they'll come back, because I'm trying to get one of the best bloggers around, trying to get him on the show as we speak, Hawk blogger Brian Nemhauser, and to not only talk about that Marshawn Lynch news we had teased, which I'm sure if those of you who are on Twitter have already seen it, but about Walter Jones. And for my money, I know there's others, and I'm sure you will bring up others, but best left tackle that I've ever seen.
Well, a pretty darn good one and a consistent one. And, a couple years ago, we obviously saw Jonathan Ogden. To me, the standard was set with Anthony Munoz all those years with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's kind of like the cream of the crop. It's such a subjective topic, in terms of who is the greatest of all time. But, you can't, it's funny, Walter Jones. We haven't seen a lot of Seattle Seahawks in the Pro Football Hall of Fame because they're obviously a very relatively young franchise. But not too long ago, Cortez Kennedy, joined the Hall, and now Walter Jones, and it's obviously a very exciting time for Seahawks fans. I mean, think about what we're going to see. In the next couple of weeks, they'll eventually kick off their preseason. They have the opener on September 4th against the Green Bay Packers. There'll be regular referees at this game this time. I'm sure everybody will remember the last time they played up in Seattle, which was
touchdown.
Intercept. Yes. One of the great dual plays of all time. Of course, Golden Tate's not there anymore. Golden Tate's now a member of the Detroit Lions, but we'll see. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just thinking that's another bit of news with the Seahawks this week. At least they're not like the Ravens, who have nothing but bad news this week. But Sidney Rice, wasn't that
Sidney
yesterday?
Yes, Sidney Rice has opted for retirement. Began his career with the Minnesota Vikings. I was speculating, boy, it would really be fun to see Sidney Rice and Percy Harvin healthy all year. And unfortunately, we're not going to see that. With Sidney Rice retiring. He had some pretty good years with the Vikings, but the things the last couple of years, injuries have been a big part of his career. Really talented player. It's a shame to see him having to retire. So the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Sonny, obviously there are 7 guys going into the Hall this weekend, and I know you're not going to be watching 6 of them. I'm just kidding, because I know who your focus will be on, and with good reason. But to remind people, there you go, Raiders. To remind people who's going in this year. The 2 veteran guys are Claude Humphrey, the defensive end for the Falcons and the Eagles. One of the early great players for the Atlanta Falcons, who have not been around that long, since 1966. And Ray Guy, the first pure punter in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and long overdue. And you could probably play the applause throughout the rest of the show, as far as I'm concerned. Long overdue. Let's just put it this way: if you're not going to have a punter in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, then you might as well take punting out of the game of football. He is the standard of all standards.
Punters are people too. Punters
are
people too.
That's right. And then you got your more modern version. You already mentioned Walter Jones, okay? But Andre Reed, another part of those great Bills teams in the '90s that went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls. Aeneas Williams, longtime Pro Bowler with the Cardinals, finished his career with the Rams. Michael Strahan, who actually sacked quarterbacks and not just doing shows with Kelly Ripa and all that, but went out on top in his career with the Super Bowl win over the Patriots, Super Bowl 42, and then of course Derek Brooks, one of the most versatile outside linebackers in the history of the league.
Well, I think we are joined by Brian Nemhauser. I hope I'm saying that right. Brian, are you there?
I am, Sonny. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We might not be able to see you, but we can hear you. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for bearing with me through technical difficulties.
That's okay.
I think the plus stands for plus technical difficulties sometimes, unfortunately. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm so grateful you were able to come on tonight, and obviously we're on the eve of watching Walter Jones go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Brian, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, and now I can say it's the latest Seattle Seahawk to be inducted into Canton.
It's true. It's Seahawks history has been littered with a lot of mediocrity up until the past few years. The overall franchise's record was about 500, and so when you had players like Cortez Kennedy, like Walter Jones, that were beacons that stood out so far from the rest, it really was an introduction for a lot of Seahawks fans about what elite football was like. And so Walter Jones is the pinnacle of that. Nobody had made the game look more easy than he did, and did it with such athleticism and such grace. He was such a gentle giant. Just an amazing player to watch. I'm really happy to see him get in there this week, or this time.
Yeah, obviously that we've seen Jonathan Ogden go in recent years. Sonny was asking me today about contemporaries, great offensive tackles of all time. I mean, there's so many and so on. Anthony Munoz is a name that often pops up and so on. Gary Zimmerman, who's not that far removed from being in the Hall of Fame as well. Do you have a favorite memory of Walter Jones? And I know that's probably a difficult question, because as we know, underappreciated as offensive linemen are. It's not like they're ever league MVPs. I mean, he was a perennial Pro Bowler. But can you remember a game where he just knocked the snot out of somebody for 60 minutes?
Yeah, he did that on just about every occasion. I think the play that really comes to mind, and the funny thing is, as you asked that, I'm forgetting some of the details. All I can remember is the Walter Jones, and it's very rare that in a key play that all you can remember is the offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. But that's the kind of player he was. It was in the NFC Championship game, 2005. Well, by then I think it was 2006, against the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
And there was a running play to Shaun Alexander, and Walter Jones took his man 30 yards downfield. And the play was over, and Walter Jones was still pushing this guy back, basically rolling backwards like a snowball gaining steam, all the way through into the end zone. And it was one of those things you just never forget after seeing it. And I don't know if I'll ever see it again, but to have that kind of dominance at the pro level is pretty rare.
Well, let's fast forward to modern times with the Seattle Seahawks and defending Super Bowl champions. I mean, that's a long time coming for this franchise. It is. Wait a minute. Here's what I remember about the Seattle Seahawks. They lead the league in Russells. They have Russell Okung, and they have Russell Wilson. Neither one are related to me. Okay,
That's
but
a
that
bummer.
doesn't matter. It's a good segue. Sonny's still very upset. Sonny, the Seahawks aren't in the AFC West anymore. Okay, they're busy being in the best division in football, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb in saying that. But as you know, Brian, getting back to a Super Bowl is pretty difficult. We haven't seen it since the 2003-2004 Patriots, who actually won back-to-back Super Bowls, but they're also the last team to get to back-to-back Super Bowls. What could be one or two major obstacles besides the teams in their division? I'm talking probably about more team obstacles that could hold the Seattle Seahawks back from, getting to Super Bowl 49.
It's a great question, and we should touch on it if we can. I've done a bunch of research on repeating and Super Bowl champions and the trends there and how the Seahawks are bucking some of those. But yeah, I think first and foremost, pass rush was a big part of what was the difference between Seahawks defense last year and the previous year. They had the same secondary the previous year. They had some of the same linebackers. But what really changed is the addition of Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett. Now, they still have those guys, but Chris Clemens has moved on, and it's going to be a requirement that they find another edge rusher that can really complement. And they've got some young guys, but that's going to be key. The combination of coverage and pass rush are the things that make an NFL defense tick.
Hang on, Russell.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Sonny.
No, that's okay. Let me ask you real quick. I've read a lot. I have a Seahawks fan in my house. It's my son. I didn't train him well. I am a Raiders fan, Brian, so I didn't train him very well.
I applaud you, Sonny, to be able to still say that in public. I think
always.
That's great.
I will freely admit it to anyone who will listen. But so I mean, I'm based here in the Pacific Northwest too, so I hear Seahawks talk. But one of the things I'm curious about is how key is this year for Bruce Irvin?
It's exactly the right way to look at this. I think Irvin, has a hip injury that he essentially is going to be coming off of. They're hoping he's ready for camp or definitely ready for the season. But this is a pivotal year for Bruce Irvin. This is going to be the year that we find out whether he's truly going to be a first-round pick level talent or whether he's going to be just a good starting linebacker. And so he's going to get first crack to be opposite of Cliff Averill in nickel rush situations. And this is a guy people forget. He had 8 sacks his rookie year. He's not a bust. He simply didn't get the pass rush opportunities last year he did the previous year.
Right. So, okay, go ahead, Russ.
What intriguing to me last year, as you know, offensive line had their share of problems staying healthy. Russell Okung missed 8 games. Bruno Giacomini missed 7 games. I want to say Max Unger missed 3 games. Continuity is such a big part of the offensive line. In the recent weeks and pieces I've done for Bleacher Report, I've kind of focused on the right tackle job. Brian, what do you see going on there? I know Michael Bowie is kind of the guy in the spot right now, but they did draft Justin Britt in the 2nd round.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic battle. I think the odds are that the 7th round pick, Bowie, is who gets that spot. He started 8 games last year and did very well. He's a mauler of a run blocker and someone who held up reasonably well as a pass protector. But he also has battled conditioning a little bit. And Justin Britt is somebody who's come in and made a really good impression. I give the favorite, the nod to Bowie because, putting another rookie, another young player in the line, I think is something that you would like to avoid if you can, and let Britt come along later.
The one thing that was impressive about Bowie is the fact that, like you said, he made a number of starts last year, and he made a number of starts along the offensive line, not just a tackle, but a guard as well. And to me, that bodes very, very well for the Seahawks, who had those injury problems last year, but have a swing man like that is very key. As you know, versatility in this league can't be, understated. It's a league where injuries play a big factor. But you look what the Seahawks have done just these last 2 years, and I think people forget. At 11 games into the quote unquote Russell Wilson era, 2012, this was a 6-5 football team, and if you include the playoffs since then, they're 22-4. And that's a hell of a run, regardless. And the thing that also impresses me is in these last 2 years, 28-9 overall, including the playoff runs, none of their 9 losses are by more than 7 points.
Yep.
They're in every game. They're either blowing you out, or if they lose, they keep it very close. Again, it's a very impressive 2-year run by this franchise.
Yeah, and if you dig even further, Russell, you get into, if you break it down by quarter, there's been, I think, other than the Houston game last year where they ended up coming back and winning it, there have been very few games over the past 2 years where even at the end of a quarter they were down by more than a score, more than a touchdown. So this is not a team that, they've been incredibly stable, and they've got a formula that allows them to do that.
Yeah.
This is the first defense since the '85 Bears to be #1 in points allowed, turnover, takeaways, and yards in a single season. This is one of the special teams that up until the last game of the season was going to set the record for fewest punt return yards allowed. They were at like 15 or 20 punt return yards the whole season. On offense, they're one of the most efficient yards per play teams. And so you put all those things together, every single yard they are going to earn or they're going to take away from you. And so it is incredibly difficult to play this team. They look for every single possibility to beat you, down to the fact that punt returners, kick returners, now they have the best kick returner in the game. You saw what he did in the Super Bowl. They have him for the whole season now.
Well, I go back to a game last year that stands out to me, and it's not one of their impressive wins, quote unquote, by score, but I think it epitomizes what you're talking about in terms of the resourcefulness of the team. It was the Monday night game at St. Louis where Russell Wilson was sacked, I think, 7 times, which they gave up a ton of rushing yards. But Russell Wilson made a couple of key throws. They held the Rams out of the end zone the entire game. They win the game 14-9, and those were the kind of wins they didn't get the previous year on the road. And again, everybody likes to talk about sometimes Seattle being a different team on the road opposed to at home, but the difference between 2012 and 2013 was winning those road games opposed to finding a way to losing those road games.
Well, and it's interesting because I think if you really look at it, what the Seahawks are on the road is the best team in the NFL.
Yes.
What they are at home is unbeatable. And so people want to talk about the difference between those two teams. Maybe the previous year that was different. Maybe Seattle was more of a above average team on the road.
Right.
But they've eclipsed that now, and so they now know they've won the championship. They're going to go into every game expecting to dominate their opponents, and there's reason to believe that they have the potential to do that.
I think the game that turned a corner for them as far as the road was the 2012 overtime win at Chicago.
Absolutely.
In which they orchestrated a couple of long drives to tie it and then win it in overtime. And then that was a confidence-building game. And I think, obviously this team goes about anywhere and wins. And, and so big deal they lost a game at home last year. It didn't matter. That was the last game they lost all season.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. In that Chicago game, it's funny. They tried to give that game away that they have the same way they have for so many other years. They give up. They were ahead. They give up a 50-yard Hail Mary to Jay Cutler with a few seconds to go in that game that let that go into overtime. So, you could see the team almost fighting its history in that one game, trying to become what they should have been. And Russell Wilson was a huge reason that he just essentially was the difference. He was the guy that said, I don't care how many mistakes we're going to make. We're going to walk out of here with a win.
Now, Brian, I know you cannot see me, but I've got the shades on. I'm about that action. News breaking right before our show.
I can see you.
Oh, okay. News breaking right before our show. Marshawn Lynch holding out of camp. Jamal Charles just got a huge contract upgrade yesterday. What do you make of that? Where does that put things as far as Kristen Michael, Robert Turbin? What do you see happening out of camp? And that will probably be our last question for you.
Great. Yeah, I think there's a bit. Kristen Michael is a guy that has potential to be, an all-pro level running back, and has got elite talent. He's shown it already. The challenge there is Tom Cable wants running backs to work a certain way in his offense. And Michael had a little bit of the rookie, I'll do things the way I do things. I do what I do. and Cable won't let you on the field if that's how you are. That Marshawn Lynch and Cable really knocked heads when he first came to Seattle. Probably not too much of a surprise, but so I think Robert Turbin's a guy that to me is a backup level player. He is currently above Michael in the depth chart, and I think that's more about the fact that he's paid attention to detail, and Michael hasn't proven he will.
More attitude, yeah.
But Michael is a featured back waiting to happen, and if given the chance, that guy is going to make this team even tougher to defend.
That's right. Well, thanks, Brian, for joining us. Oh, I said that was the last question. One more question. What's your prediction for this year? Don't just say Super Bowl.
Seattle's going to be the best team in the NFL again. I don't have any doubt about that, to be honest. I think it's more a matter of, what are the other teams, what are they doing, and, do you get an injury at an inopportune time that changes the course of the season? That's always the case with the NFL. But as far as makeup and potential and odds, Seattle deserves to be the odds-on favorite to win again.
Champions until the throne. I'm a big believer in that. Brian, thanks so much for coming on tonight. Can you tell people where everybody can find you, and it's important that they do? Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks. So if you're on Twitter, it's just @HawkBlogger, and if you're on the web, it's hawkblogger.com. Come check out what we've got going on there.
Thanks,
well,
Brian.
I'm going to be seeing one of your colleagues in Canton next week, Dana O'Gorman. And yes, and then she's going to be coming on our show next weekend and so on. And I want to thank you again for coming on. And hopefully we'll talk to you during the season. And maybe, just maybe, we'll see you in Glendale sometime in February.
That's right. We want Glendale next year, and then we want to go to San Francisco in the following year. So going to take a tour of the NFC West.
You want to do the L at the 49ers fans, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
See, we can do that together.
See, I think the NFL missed the boat. They should have had Super Bowl 50 in Hawaii. I'm sure you can figure that out.
Very good. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Brian.
Well, that was terrific. I as a Raiders fan, as a Pacific Northwest non-Seahawks fan, that was he brings it. I remember early on in Twitter, I follow a lot of the Seattle media, and they'd always say Hawk Blogger really brought it in this post or this post. So that was fun. That was fun.
Great perspective, great information, and the great part about our show is for people who missed it tonight, they can come back and listen to it, tomorrow and so on, and get a lot of that great information. Another great part about our show is having someone named Liz Panucci appear on it, and Liz Panucci is the founder of NFL Female. They have one guy on their staff, and I'm trying to remember his name. But Liz, welcome to the show. Ecstatic to have you on, and even more ecstatic to know that, like Sunny, we're going to see you in Canton the week from today.
Yes, you sure are, and thank you both, Russell and Sunny, for having me on the show and representing the sisterhood of NFL Female. And we're all so excited to be getting together in Canton and enjoying the festivities that weekend.
It's fun to meet you. Good to meet you, Liz.
Good to meet you, Sunny.
Well, Liz, I know I believe this is your first trip to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well as it is Sunny's. And I know a lot of your writers are coming out. We just mentioned Dana O'Gorman's going to be out there. How many of your writers who are attending are making the trip to Canton for the first time?
Well, for the first time, I don't know for sure, but I do know that we have 5 or 6 coming, so we'll be representing the Cleveland Browns, of course, the Seahawks, that's Dana, and the Browns is Kate, and we have Sharona coming for the Tennessee Titans, Michelle coming for the Dallas Cowboys, maybe a couple of maybes from Verlisa, the Vikings, and Sonia from the Lions. And I don't know how many of them have, if it's their first time. I know Sharona's been there before, but I don't know about the other ladies.
Right. I'll go out on a limb and guess that Kate's been there.
I would think so, yeah.
I would think probably, especially when the Browns, if you remember in 1999, which I believe was the year Ozzie Newsome went in, and the Browns made their return to the NFL and played in the Hall of Fame game against the Dallas Cowboys. I'll have to ask Kate if she was there. I believe that was the first time the Hall of Fame game was moved to evening. It used to be a Saturday afternoon game right after the induction ceremonies.
Why did they change it?
I think they were looking for more exposure and more of a primetime audience. For years when I was going out there, things were done the same way year in, year out, year in, year out. And guys like Pete Fearley and Joe Horrigan, very progressive in terms of the media, and savvy guys who are real football historians and scholars, and you'll get a chance to meet them out there. I've known Joe and Pete going on 25 years, and they've helped with books such as Total Football. They do a lot of stuff with the Hall of Famers. They are fountains of information, and more importantly, just terrific gentlemen.
Kind of like you, Russ, right?
Yeah, but I'm a fountain that never turns off. I'm kind of like a geyser that you want to put a plug in every once in a while.
Well, I can always mute you, and I might just mute you so I can ask Liz.
Well, that would be a moot point,
female.
wouldn't it?
NFL female. That is quite the concept. First of all, congratulations. How did this whole thing come about, and how long ago did you start it?
We've got our 3rd anniversary coming up in a couple of weeks, so that's very exciting for us. And it all started because I'm an NFL fan living in Canada. And I live on the west coast of Canada, and all up here everything is hockey. And I grew up in the Dan Marino days. He was, to me, my hero, and loved watching football with my brother, and we just had a lot of fun. We had this game called Stratomatic Football, which is like a board game, and it's a pre-Madden type of concept, and you were the coach, and you made the calls and everything, and it was just so much fun, and I really learned about the game when I was in my teens. And so I always just had this passion for football, and then I finally got the chance to go to Miami and watch a game live, and that was my first ever live game, and that was about 4 years ago, and I saw how many women were there, not just with other people, they were there, with girlfriends or, other relatives or whatever, and they were really enjoying the game. And I thought, you know what, there's a lot of ladies out here. I don't have anybody here in Canada I can talk to about football, so I'm just going to get online and start doing it.
Well, that's terrific, and it's interesting that you went with Dan Marino clear on the other corner of the country here in America. Nobody on the Seahawks. Of course, the Seahawks weren't very good for a while. Now, did you get into CFL at all?
Oh yes, I've always been a big fan of CFL too. But it's not the same game.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay. Russ?
Dan Marino. It's funny, we were talking about the Hall of Fame, and we're talking about Dan Marino here. I can tell you the year that he went into the Hall of Fame, which was a very small class, and I think the year I believe was 2005. Because Dan's last year was 1999. But to this day, now when you attend the Hall of Fame ceremonies now, obviously you have a lot of fans who come, dressed in jerseys and, showing their love and support for their favorite guy. And again, by this time in 2005, the ceremony had been moved to the stadium. To this day, without question, and I saw my share of John Elway jerseys. I saw my share of Barry Sanders jerseys, other guys as well. The year that Dan Marino went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I have never, even close, seen that many Dan Marino jerseys in one place in one time. It was incredibly noticeable. You could not help but notice the support for him was absolutely amazing. And of course, he's, because of his work in television, because of his prolific passing records. And now the thing I did question is, it was odd. It was summertime, and yet about 3,000 or 4,000 people wearing those Dan Marino jerseys were also wearing isotoner gloves. And that I don't know what the connection was with that and so on. I'm only kidding, but that's one of my favorite memories of going to the Hall of Fame since 1989 was the year that Dan Marino and just seeing the amount of. And now remember, Dan Marino played his football in college at the University of Pittsburgh, so a local guy, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, not that far away, so that was a big part of it as well. But the Marino jerseys, I mean, it was stunning to watch.
That would be fantastic to see.
Well, there's got to be some footage out there somewhere, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think the only person that didn't wear a Dan Marino jersey that day was Dan Marino. And if I also remember right, I think he threw a pass off the stage to Mark Clayton.
Oh,
it was
cool.
near the front row. I mean, you're going to really enjoy yourself while you're out there and so on. It's so many memories, and you're going to find the one thing you'll find about this experience is it's very humbling for these men to stand in front of their families and their friends and their old coaches, and people bring back their high school coaches and grandparent. I mean, it's all about them, and it's about them and the families who sat and watched while their father or brother or husband spent 14 years playing football and probably wished he was around a little more, and now he has that opportunity. But now they have that opportunity to come see their father embronzed in Canton, Ohio. I think it's going to be a stirring ceremony. That always is. There's always something that catches your eye in terms of a speech, and it's going to be fun to actually be out there with both of you and the rest of the NFL female gang. And Liz and I are, well, it's actually more Liz in the gang than me, putting together our latest piece that we kind of work on together, and asking the ladies who on their teams do you think deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that'll debut sometime next week.
That's going to be a great article, because there is a lot of players that aren't in there that deserve to be in there, especially in a lot of the fans' eyes.
Oh, there's no question about it. And the Hall of Fame, as sets a limit and so on, so it's a little different than other halls. But they eventually all catch up. And again, it's a great class this year because there's a lot of modern players. But let me ask you both, since you're both here. I already know Sonny's answer to this, so that's obvious. Liz, of the 7 inductees that are coming in, who are you looking forward to the most to seeing or meeting or listening to?
Well, I have to be honest with you and say that there was many years, probably about 15 years, where I was married to an Italian and was not allowed to watch football. So I missed out on a lot of years. I know. And, Sundays we had to spend with the family and doing things. So honestly, I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's a good
answer.
answer.
You should have said the Raiders. You would have earned brownie points in my book. I would have given you a hug when I saw you in Canton, but no.
So I'm going to assume that person you were married to doesn't follow me on Twitter, correct?
We're also not married anymore.
Okay, well, okay. Well, more importantly, he doesn't follow you anymore, that's his loss. So,
exactly.
Again, it's like I said, it'll be a fun time. It'll be a fun ceremony. Again, and then of course we got the kickoff to the preseason. What instead of an individual, Liz, what about going out to Canton? Are you the aspect of what you're looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to the experience and just being there and feeling it all and being right in Canton and getting to know some of the people in Canton too. I mean, this is a big event for them. And so just being there and, of course, meeting the ladies, because NFL Female is mostly done all online except for Google Hangouts and podcasts. And so I haven't met any of these ladies yet. So it'll be a big thing for me to do that. But being there is huge.
Now, let me pipe in here like I am prone to do, and let me ask you.
I hope so. You are the co-host.
Let's get to some football side of things, even if it is the off season.
Mm-hmm.
We're just now starting training camps. What has been the most intriguing storyline in the off season for you personally?
For me personally.
Or, I mean, if you want to go with one of the recent stories, I mean, Lord knows we've had so many recent stories that we could talk about. But is there anything that in particular that has stood out, or maybe it was from the draft, Johnny Manziel? I mean, is there anything that has stood out to you in this off season?
Well, you might all think this is kind of lame, but I just love hearing about the good things that the players are doing in the off season. And there is so much good stuff going on out there with the players and their families and giving back to the community and the fun things that the players do. I know that Torrey Smith with the Baltimore Ravens and Gwen Robinson, our official fan reporter, they have so many fun things going on there, and they get a lot of one-on-one time with the players. And to me, that's really cool, and that's great. And that really just it provides the emotional aspect of football, and that to me is exciting. So the good things about the players.
Liz, there was a story out here, obviously, today regarding Ray Rice and the ramifications of his actions. He's being suspended by the league for the first 2 games of the season. I know Sunday and I were talking about the fact there's a lot of retweeting going on all over Twitter about the ramifications of the suspension. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on it.
Well, I do know that a lot of the ladies are very upset because, it's just not right. And in any way, it's not right what he did, and it's not right his punishment. And, things are changing, and they're changing slowly, but that's definitely, the ladies are upset, and not just with the sisterhood at NFL Female. We always try and keep it classy and on the positive side, but something's going to change, and with this outcry, maybe this is a good start.
Do you think that social media will help the cause to let the NFL, not that they will listen, but let the NFL and the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell know that there is a segment of the fan base, females. One reporter put it today, you're trying to cater to the female fan base and yet you do this. But do you think social media will help NFL Female and others like you to put pressure on?
Social media definitely is fantastic that way because it's not just one person speaking, it's numbers, and numbers are always key when you're trying to change anything. And everybody can stand behind each other on social media on something like this, and definitely the NFL is, I'm very sure, aware of what's going on today.
But do you think it will make a difference, or instead of the NFL, put more pressure on the Ravens to do something above and beyond? I don't know if that's within the rules, but pressure the Ravens. There was some dissatisfaction on Twitter with Coach Harbaugh today and his comments. So would it behoove people to gear it more towards the Ravens instead?
I don't think that's going to happen because I don't really think it's up to the Ravens to do that. I believe that Roger Goodell has done the punishment, and there's really nothing else to do for that aspect. But I do believe that it will possibly make a big change in anything that happens in the future.
Liz, you have quite the crew at NFL Female, and growing, by the way. And for people who have not been on the site, I seemingly get an email from you every couple of days about a new writer who's joining the staff, and it's exciting to watch. And the enthusiasm there is infectious. I'm very lucky to be associated with your product and so on, and I thank you very much for that. Have you, in the years that you've been doing this, and I know it hasn't been long, has there been a moment for the site that jumps out to you? Be it a story, be it an interview, be it an editorial, be it just maintaining this thing for 3 years. Is there a highlight in a short time for NFL Female?
Well, I got to say, every single day I smile at in amazement at the cream of the crop that has found their way to NFL Female. These ladies really know their stuff, and they're all so amazing, and they all get along so well, which is great. But I have to say, probably one of the pivotal points was with our podcast, which we do every Wednesday. It's called Wednesday Night with NFL Female, and Andre Reed was on there, and that was a biggie for us.
Yeah, and obviously one of the 7 members going in this weekend, and some people will say long overdue, but now joining the other Bills from those Super Bowl years: Marv Levy, Bruce Smith, Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas. It's great. And again, for people who are not familiar with the site, it is a very worthwhile read, and it caters to all 32 teams. I think that's the thing that people need to understand. It's not just Bills heavy. It's not just Raiders heavy. It's not just Buccaneers heavy.
Although there would be nothing wrong with it being Raiders heavy.
Yes. That's heavy, Sonny. That's really heavy. So But I mean, and that's the fun thing about it. I mean, there are perspectives from everywhere, and I think the thing that you just touched on that I enjoy in the interaction that I have with Dana and Lisa and and Kate and Robin and all the different people, be it on Twitter or be it emails and so on, is that aspect of them all getting along and enjoying each other and so on. And I think it's as much. It is going to be get a chance to meet you and talk to you in person in Canton about the direction of the site. It's going to see everybody together, or a lot of you together, getting to know each other and sharing your stories about football and how you all. To me, what's fascinating about those of us who do this is, and one day, this is a book idea I had a long time ago, is why do fans become fans of a certain team? Sometimes it's hereditary. Sometimes it's a favorite helmet. Sometimes it's a favorite uniform. It's a favorite player. It's a local player. I mean, there are so many different reasons. Okay, my dad liked the Miami Dolphins, so I like the Miami Dolphins. Okay, my brother liked the Seattle Seahawks, so I like the Seattle Seahawks. Boy, those uniforms are neat. Boy, that's a great logo. It's a great kick, but the bottom line is now you're impassioned. You take a stand on your team. You defend your team. But the nice thing also about the NFL female contingent is they offer a lot of perspective as well. It's not just, I cover the Seahawks and it's rah-rah Seahawks. It's good. So we've had Dana on our show, and she does an outstanding job. And, when we get to Canton, as you well know, a lot of the ladies are going to be on 1st and 60, and we're looking forward to that.
Great.
Yes, we will be broadcasting. We're going to attempt to first. We're going to attempt doing one of these Google Plus Hangouts from Canton, from downtown Canton at TD's Tailgate Grill on Saturday morning. Don't know if it'll work or not, but we're going to find out when we get there. But
we're going to be there. That's the way I look at it. The show starts at noon. We're going to go as long as we can, depending on who's going to be there. If you're in the neighborhood,
come on now.
It's at noon, yes.
Oh, I thought we were doing it in the morning. See, we are so organized here.
Well, it's TD's Tailgate. We got to let them clean up a little from Friday night. They're going to be busy. Trust me, every place in downtown Canton, Hall of Fame week is busy. And let me jump back to something that Liz said for a second ago about it being a big thing for the city of Canton. That cannot be said enough. Again, I've been going out there since 1989. I'm going to try and have on a couple of the guys, Bob Lung, who's a big fantasy football guy, Frank Salona, who helped us set this up with TD's Tailgate. They have been assisting the Hall of Fame ceremonies since I've been going out there, 1989. The whole town embraces the Hall of Fame ceremonies. They cater to all the inductees. They cater to the former Hall of Famers, from driving them around to driving their families around to, just about everything. It is a community effort. And what you're going to find on Friday, that dinner where we're going to, in which the 7 men get their new Hall of Fame jackets, that's a civic dinner, which is also a thank you to the city of Canton for all the work the volunteers do. And they do it with a lot of love and a lot of passion, and again, you're really going to enjoy it because you're going to feel like a celebrity being out there because they treat everybody like a celebrity. As soon as you walk in the hotel door, as soon as you're downtown, and I'm ecstatic about being down at TD's Tailgate, and we're going to have a blast.
Yes, we are. And
we might have a burger or two, by the way, too. I'm just letting you know. So
you have the burger, I'll have salad. Anyways, I think I've come up with our hashtag already. It'll be hashtag 1st and 60 HOF. So if you are going to be in Canton, please come find us. Follow us on Twitter at 1st and 60. We will be sharing the link, sharing the places that we will be at, because I'm pretty sure Russ and I are going to be out and about whether it's interviewing players, interviewing media, interviewing fans. We've got the tech side all ready to go. Hopefully we can connect with some of you fans out there. But follow us on Twitter at FirstAnd60 using the hashtag FirstAnd60HOF. And yes, we will be broadcasting live on Saturday. Looking forward to really meeting you, Liz, and all of the ladies from NFL Female.
Yes, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and I too am very excited to be going, and it's going to be fun to try the live broadcast and see how that all goes. It'll be a great time there, and thank you both so much for having me on the show tonight.
No problem. Why don't you let everybody know how they can connect with you and NFL Female across the interwebs?
Okay. Well, our website is nflfemale.com, and there's all the information on there. And we're on Twitter a lot, which is at NFLFemale. That's it. And Facebook is on there. Great articles by the ladies, all 32 teams. It's a lot of fun to hang out with us.
And they are on Google+, yes, like she said. Connect with them there as well. Russ, where can people find you?
Well, they're going to find me in Canton next week, remember? Never.
On the interwebs.
I know. Bax Football Guru on Twitter, profootballguru.com, which in the last couple of weeks since you and I have done a show, I've been proud to add Fansided to my latest website that I'm writing for. Fansided, which is a part of SI.com. And I'm currently previewing every team. We've got 9 down, 23 to go. It's my if, and but series about how every team can make the playoffs, so keep an eye out for that. And in case you were worried, we'll be bringing the ProFootballGuru.com T-shirts with us in Canton, Ohio, just so you know. And again, we didn't get a chance to talk about this since the last time we were on. We wound up raising in the months of May and June over $360 for the American Cancer Society. That number is being matched by Andrew Fain of Sports Infusion. So we'll be sending the American Cancer Society at least through June $720, and we've already sold some shirts in July, and I'm hoping we're going to sell some more shirts as we continue to promote my site, but more importantly, raise money for the American Cancer Society.
That's fantastic. Nice job, Fish. Nice job, everyone. Yes, definitely go to profootballguru.com to find out all of the information on how you, too, can get one of those profootballguru.com T-shirts and help raise money for the American Cancer Society. Definitely connect with me here on Google+, plus Sunny Cadwallader, CADWALLADER. I know it's a mouthful for me, too. Connect with me on Twitter and Instagram at CADChica, CADCHICA, writing about sports and social media at cadchicasports.com, and join me for another Tuesday 10 hangout. That's my weekly show, Tuesday 10 with Chica Sports. Quick 10-minute chat, talking with leaders and up-and-comers in the world of sports. I'll have another one on Tuesday. I will be talking a little bit of NFL and a little bit of Major League Baseball history. Mike Freeman from the Bleacher Report is scheduled to join me. And yes, people, please follow us on Twitter at FirstAnd60. Connect with us in Canton. And the next time you hear from us, we will be broadcasting live, hopefully. Cross your fingers, cross your toes, from Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Thanks for joining us, everyone.